Yes. Okay, I just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I suppose the first things first is who are you? Could you introduce yourselves? Start with
Yeah, of course.
oh,
My name is Scott Cartwright. I am one of the writers of Pinocchio, a new musical. I've kind of been on board with the project since the very beginning. I remember reaching out to Josh and just being like, you know something, I'd love to work on a musical adaptation to a fairy tale.
yeah.
Um, and we both kind of just sat there and thought, oh well, hang on, everyone's doing adaptations of Pinocchio at the moment, so what the hell? Let's do our own
Why
version.
don't we make our own? Yes.
Let's do our own take on it.
um, so Josh, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Josh Coy, and I am the co-writer of this show. I am the co-writer of Pinocchio.
So obviously you touched on it a little bit there, Scott. But how did you two end up working together? How did this partnership come to be?
Well, I think for the most part, me and Josh, we've been friends since COVID.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes, yes, we
and
have.
we kind of jumped on calls here and there and just went, you know,
Hmm.
started talking about musical stuff like that. But I think it really started when I began work on a musical adaptation to A Christmas Carol.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and we brought Josh on board to record for the vocals of Ebenezer Scrooge. Uh,
Yes.
and then from there, I think I just kind of messaged you, didn't I, Josh? Like, and was just,
I think that yeah, I think that that's the thing. I do feel like that's where things really got started, and then we just started doing um um and then we just started doing song covers um together, and then it just kind of evolved into writing our own shows and our own musicals.
Hmm.
But I feel like but, but I feel out of all of our projects that we've done, this one has been the most
Hmm.
um should I say successful?
Hmm.
I'd say the most anticipated, like the most highly
Yeah,
anticipated
Hmm.
definitely.
Hmm.
we've worked on, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Christmas Carol had quite a lot of anticipation, but
Hmm.
everyone has been asking me questions about this show. Um, I mean, because I'm a churchgoer, and a lot of people at church have me on Facebook and everything, and they always ask me, "What can you tell me about Pinocchio? Have you worked on anything recently? What's next? What's coming next?" And I'm just like, at the moment, I can't give you too much information,
Hmm.
but no,
Oh, believe me,
it's very highly anticipated.
it
Um,
has been so hard to stay title lips out.
very hard.
It's all been because it's all been really, really exciting,
Hmm.
especially recently. It's,
Oh,
it's
definitely.
it's all been just such a
Hmm.
joy to
I,
work on.
I mean, we've just recently announced that we've brought an orchestrator by the name of Joe Purdue from Catfish and Legends of Aramar on board.
Yes,
And he will be doing
amazing.
arrangements and orchestrations. And honestly, the work that he has done for this show, I cannot wait for people to hear it.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
honestly, me and Josh, like, I wouldn't say I'm a professional composer, but like, you know,
mm.
some things that, I've thought about doing with the music, Joe's completely flipped that on its head and just went, okay, no, we're going to try it like this.
is
And
is
to be
what I'm
honest, I
doing.
think I've always preferred his version more than mine.
Yeah,
Like, there's a good example of this with the song "Take It From Rocco." I think we put in loads of brass and made it a very big kind of Broadway number. And because Rocco is our talking cricket, Joe decided to strip it all back and just have like pizzicato strings. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't sound full, but it represents the size of the cricket. He's tiny, and
Yeah,
I don't know what
basically,
I prefer
he's
his
small,
version.
but he's got a big personality.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about ever since you brought Joe on board, his orchestrations have reflected the characters who's singing them.
Yes,
and I think
exactly.
that's key with our adaptation.
Oh, fabulous. So we talked about a little bit earlier, Josh, about how you were brought on as a vocalist for Christmas Carol and now co-writing this musical. How did that sort of transition from performer to writer come about, or what was your experience of doing those both sides?
Well, basically, I have always had a love for the theatre. I've always loved to sing in my spare time, and I've always loved to write. Like, I would write plays in college, I would write like just plays in school, or just sometimes when I'm bored, I'd start writing a play. And because it was something that I've always enjoyed. And then when it came to Scott asking me about this adaptation, I of course jumped at the chance, and yeah, I've not looked back since.
So, Scott, how did you kind of get into writing? How did your journey with musical theatre creation come about?
So I started by I was an actor from the age of 11. I'm 23 now. So 12 years I've been acting. Now I'd done like amateur dramatics and everything, and I thought, you know what? As much as I love being on the stage and telling a story, I would love to be the person behind the scenes to write the story for people to tell. Because I don't know, there's just something fascinating about that, for me. And me and Josh, going a little bit off topic here, we've actually challenged ourselves over the course of the next week or two, to write a murder mystery play, like a full-length murder mystery play.
Yeah, we have.
We've put it as a challenge for the pair of us just to see how we get on. Whether it gets staged or not, we don't know. We just thought we'd do it as a bit of a side hustle just to see how we do.
And so far, I think we're about halfway through the first act.
We are. We started 2 days ago, and we're halfway through the first act. So we're ahead. We're ahead. We'll say that.
Yeah, we are.
I suppose writing for fun is really important, because if you're doing it as a career or a job, you have to churn out new material. You have to create something new. You have to get it on stage. But you guys seem to have kept the fun of it. Wouldn't this be interesting? Let's do it. Where it ends up doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you, because one thing me and Josh have said from the very beginning when starting working on Pinocchio is we want this show. We don't want to restrict anyone. We don't want to be those people that restrict our performers, our orchestrators, our creative team, our set designers. We don't want to restrict anyone. Every idea is welcome. As well, the whole point of this show is we want it to be as if you're looking through the eyes of a child.
Okay.
The very playful nature of a child. And we kind of took inspiration from the SpongeBob musical a little bit, actually, in the very playful nature of the show. The thing is, that very playful nature of the show, in our eyes, actually gets you into a lot of trouble. or gets Pinocchio into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because of course we all know the story. He skips school, goes to a puppet show, and then a load of adventures happen from there. And we've kind of captured that. And one thing I like about our adaptation, which I think people will actually grow to love, is within the book, because we've more adapted it to the book than, because we like to say, if you've ever watched the Disney version, forget about it. Like,
yeah, this isn't like the Disney version.
Forget,
I mean, granted,
this is the Cartwright version.
I mean, granted, our version does kind of have similar elements. Well, I say the same. Yeah. Well, I say the same kind of vibe, but what we've done is that we've taken the darkness of the original book, which I don't know if you've read, but if you've ever read the original book, it can get very, very dark. And we've kind of put a bit of that into our version. So it's fun, but it's also really dark. It's really in the spirit of the original story. It's kind of our own version.
Don't get me wrong, there are some stuff that me and Josh have kind of thrown in that isn't in the book. Some natures that aren't in the book. And I'll get onto one of them. But the one that I particularly love talking about is the inclusion of our character Belle. Now, I remember when I first pitched the character of Belle to Josh, and I remember at first he was a little bit hesitant to the idea, but I managed to persuade him round, and I think what we've got for Belle is probably the most powerful scene in the entire show. And if anything, it's probably my favorite scene in the entire show, other than one. Which I'm about to come on to. Another thing about the book is the character of Candlewick. Now, some people may remember from the Disney movie as Lampwick, but in our adaptation in the book, he's called Candlewick. Now, Candlewick in our adaptation plays a much bigger role than any adaptation me and Josh have ever seen to the story.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's I want to say Candlewick's kind of the reason Pinocchio makes the bad choices, but at the same time, Candlewick's really a bad kid.
Yeah, basically like because because every other version of the story, at least that we know, has always shown Candlewick as this kind of token bad boy, but in our version, we really wanted to kind of let him out. Like he doesn't meet Pinocchio, and he's not there just to cause like a fuss or anything like that. He's there because he wants to make a friend. And that's really the heart of the whole show, I think, is their friendship.
I think one thing, Josh has kind of made a very good point about is one of the themes of our adaptation of Pinocchio, and that's loneliness. Loneliness in our adaptation is explored from beginning to end. Of course, Geppetto makes Pinocchio because he's a lonely old man. But then we come to learn that Rocco is lonely in the world as well. Rocco being our talking cricket or Jiminy Cricket stand-in kind of character. But he's very lonely in the world as well. We've also got Pinocchio, who's very lonely. He has to go on this adventure on his own. And even though he might not be on his own, because we have included three very fun characters by the names of Lorenzo, Antonio, and Marco. who are three crows
and,
who are very much larger
and
than
they
life.
kind of act,
Um,
and they kind of act as almost as as a temporary um 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 conscience in a way.
I think the thing about the crows as well, like Antonio, Lorenzo, and Marco, is the way I like to describe them. If anyone asks me how would I describe their characters, think three bad idea bears from Avenue Q. Think about if there were three bad idea bears from Avenue Q, and then you have got Lorenzo, Antonio, and Marco. um, yeah, the suggestions are not the best. However, they do help.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong; they do have one or two good ideas, but the rest of them are absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
So I've obviously and we've talked about, and I've seen from your social medias that you are slowly but surely releasing songs and samples and sort of demo tracks of this music. So
Yes.
I suppose that
Yes,
Josh, what's it been like seeing these ideas go from ideas to actual pieces of music?
oh, it's always been such a thrill.
Mm.
If anything, it's part of the fun. No, like, if anything, it's part of the fun of the process because I go on those calls with Scott and I get to see all these orchestrations get put together. And once you finally have the final song and the final product, it's just so wonderful. And it's that, and it is a lot of fun to sing these songs as well. Part of the fun for me personally is when I sing these songs, I like to do them in the voices of our characters.
Yeah, I do the same.
Yeah, and it's fun just as a voice actor to kind of give life to all of these characters. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a thrill to do.
It must have been particularly interesting for you, Josh, as a vocalist and as a writer, to have
Yeah,
to create these songs and then, like you said, you know, even practice and officially bringing these characters to life through the songs. It must
yeah.
be really interesting to see both sides for you as a creative.
Oh, yes, it has been. Yes, it's been a lot of fun, as I say, because then I get to
Hmm.
because then I have an idea of in my head of how I want them to sound,
Hmm.
and then and then um and um and then um and then and then I can take that and put it into the actual song, put it into the uh, performance.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Also, on your social media, I have spotted, Scott, that there are merch items, products promoting the show.
Yes,
We
there
have,
are.
however, one thing me and Josh have recently done is updated our
Our
artwork.
logo. Yeah.
So we're currently looking into revamping our current merchandise to have the new artwork, which we're very excited about. That will be coming in the next few weeks, hopefully. But yeah, keep your eye out for that.
Where can people sort of find, follow your show and sort of stay up to date with the merch updates?
So our Instagram is Pinocchio Musical UK. Our TikTok, we do have a very snazzy TikTok page, which is just Pinocchio Musical. We will add the UK in the next few days. It was just something that we completely forgot to add. But it will eventually be Pinocchio Musical UK. But for the moment, it is Pinocchio Musical. We're currently looking into setting up a Twitter, so look out for that. And we do also have a Facebook page, which is just Pinocchio, a new musical. And Our logo is classic. It's just an open book with blue smoke. That's the best way I can explain it. Best way I can explain it. An open book with blue smoke.
I will obviously I'll put all the links in the description so people can just scroll down and click away. The final question I have is for both of you, so I would like sort of separate answers. So what sort of advice would you have for new musical creatives? For people who want to get into creating a new musical, what sort of advice, experiences would you like to share?
That's a good question.
Josh, you go first, or do you want me to go first?
I don't know. All right. I'll try. I'd say if you have an idea for a musical, then just keep at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because although a really good show can take years to kind of get off of the ground, I find just trying to, I'd say just don't ever lose your passion for it. Just keep at it, and it'll go somewhere eventually, and people will love what you do, and people will be talking about it for years once it's done.
Yeah, and like we've talked about, you guys came up with the idea. You've now had the music is being worked on, and so those steps do take time. But just getting something out there and not losing it, because it does take time. Whether you're you have all the tools yourself to do it, or you need to get someone else in. It's going to take time. So just getting something down is really important.
Exactly.
For me, the advice I would have to give, no pressure. No, in all seriousness, I have two bits of advice that I would give to new writers, actually. The first one has to be planning is your best friend.
Yeah.
That is my advice. Planning is your best friend. Because one thing me and Josh do, and this is something we're terrible for, is we'll just go, "Hey, do you want to call and carry on work on Pinocchio?" We don't plan anything. We just, you want to call and get some more work done on Pinocchio.
Yeah, we just do it.
We just do it. However, for people who have a very busy schedule, who might not have the time to write, planning the time to write, even just planning the storyline, the outline of each individual scene. I mean, this is what me and Josh are doing for the murder mystery. We will literally outline exactly what happens in that scene in what order. And it can literally just be bullet points. It can literally just be bullet points. But yeah, planning is your best friend. Use it. My second piece of advice, and this is more advice that I would give to my younger self, more than anything, is don't be afraid to make cuts. A lot of writers find themselves getting too attached to their work, to the point where they are afraid to make cuts. But sadly, the sad reality of it is sometimes you have to make cuts for your work to work. Me and Josh found this out the hard way when trying to write an opening number for Pinocchio. We wrote an opening number called Play the Day Away, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad song, but it wasn't the right feel. It wasn't an opening number. And an opening number, the whole purpose of having an opening number is to set the tone of the show, right? Yes. So what me and Josh have decided to do is cut the opening number. And we've decided, and this is probably one thing that probably sets our show out from the rest, we have decided not to have an opening number. Because we find it works better without it.
Yeah, it really does.
Don't be afraid to make cuts. Take challenges. Take risks. If you think something won't work, try it anyway. Yeah. There you go. There's my two pieces of advice.
So that is all the questions I have. So I kind of just want to end the same way I started by obviously thanking you guys for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I will put the link in the
Thank you
description.
for having us.
So they can find out more about your show and click away. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out, and I can't wait to see where the music goes.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.